Hello, everyone. This is Pooka, and welcome to the finals from the Wisconsin State Championship. We have quite an intriguing matchup between probably the two top decks that performed at state championship, and some interesting players as well. On the right, we have the one and only Richard Lucas. We saw his epic top four match where he barely got past Colin Peterick in that amazing game. He is going up against a relatively new player named Joe Baka. We have featured him a few times on our stream before. He's been in some matches we put on the camera a couple times already. And he is here in the finals, so clearly he is doing well. He understands this game. And I am looking forward to this great matchup between these two awesome guys. Now, as we all know, Mr. Lucas is playing his big basic deck, Landorus, Tornadus, Mewtwo, and Bouffalant. It's a deck that we've seen a lot since Landorus came out. Before, there really wasn't like a Tornadus, Mewtwo kind of a deck. It just didn't seem like it worked very well. And then Landorus came out, and all of a sudden this deck kind of picked up steam. Hammerhead is a great attack, it's very good against Darkrai, and that's exactly what we're going to see here. Now, Joe is playing a Darkrai Sableye deck. That's it, nothing else. The one Keldeo to get out of the poison, since you can rush in and retreat out of the status effects. But just Darkrai Sableye, and of course, we're going to see some good old Hypnotoxic Laser action in this game. And I also believe Joe plays Crushing Hammers as well. So we're going to see him, we always wonder, how can someone fit in hammers and lasers into the same deck, and Verbanks and all that stuff? How do you do that? But we're going to find out. We're going to see if this deck can work, and if he can end the Cinderella story that is Richard Lucas's run here, because it has been an incredible ride so far. Now, it looks like Joe, did he just draw that random receiver? Either way, he's got a random receiver. It looked like his hand wasn't too great, but with that Juniper, it's going to look a lot better. Richard, he did just play the Fighting Energy and use Hammerhead, and did 60 to the Darkrai since it is weak to Fighting. That is why Landorus is so darn good against Darkrai, that Fighting weakness. Hitting for 60 for 1 energy, and then 32 bench Pokemon as well. You're hitting for 90 damage for 1 energy. That just seems dirty, and it's definitely going to be probably the defining attack in this matchup. If Mr. Lucas can pull off enough of those without any resistance from Joe, he will be able to win this matchup, I think. Just that first turn, 60 damage is pretty darn big. You do 60 to the Darkrai before they even get a chance to do anything. That's huge. If you would have had a Hypnotoxic Laser to go with it, it would have been even better. Imagine if there's 90 on that thing. Yikes. Mr. Lucas decided to Skyla for a Juniper instead, since he didn't have another supporter. If he did, I'm sure he would have gone for a Laser, and that would have been huge. That would have been a game changer, and there is the Crushing Hammer. Now, this is kind of the wrench that's going to be thrown into this matchup, as we see Joe has quite a nice start with that Dark Patch, but he's going to Energy Switch up to the active and retreat into Sableye, and use another Energy Switch, so lots of shenanigans going on right away. But no energy attachment for the turn, just that Dark Patch. And that's kind of a bummer. You would love to get that 2 energy in play on the first turn. That's when Darkrai gets really scary. Threaten that turn 2 Night Spear, hit for 90 and 32 bench Pokemon. That's probably the scariest thing we have in the game outside of like a turn 2 Blastoise with Black Kyurem EX doing 200. Night Spear is pretty devastating starting on turn 2. Really puts pressure on your opponent right out the gates. And we'll see what happens. He gets a Crushing Hammer and a random receiver back with Sableye's Junk Hunt attack. Allows you to get 2 item cards back. And yeah, he's got to get those Crushing Hammers, man. If he doesn't, and that Landorus just builds up energy, if it gets 3 energy on it, and it's able to use Land's Judgment, that is so huge. That is kind of, as a Darkrai player, what you're hoping to prevent. Because if that Landorus gets 3 energy on it, and not only did it not stay on the table, and here we go with that die ruling again. Gotta stay on the playmats, apparently. And it got a Tails. They bumped the camera in the process, too. So we're going to have to deal with kind of a crooked camera angle for the rest of the match. Hope you guys don't mind. But yeah, that crushing hammer, tails. Oh, Mr. Lucas has got to be, fist pumping for that one. Joe has got to be scared out of his mind, honestly, because when that Landers gets 3 energy on it, and you can use Land's Judgment, it wipes out Darkrai's like nothing. It does 160, and then if you have the laser, it can hit you up to that 190, which is enough for a knockout. The fighting weakness, of course, is what allows Landers to do so much. And if you really need to, you can just discard all your energy and really stick it to Darkrai, do 300 damage if you really wanted to. But the main thing is, Mr. Lucas has already spread enough damage onto both the Darkrai's where he doesn't have to discard his energy with Land's Judgment. And that is a big deal. Because if you can retain all of your energy, not have to discard them, what does the Darkrai player do then when there's this gigantic 180 hit point Pokemon barreling down on you, knocking out your Darkrai's every turn, and it doesn't even have to discard its energy? So you really need to prevent this, but so far Joe has not been able to. He got 2 tails on Crushing Hammer so far. You can see he's going to try to junk hunt for a couple more Crushing Hammers maybe. He's only got 1 in there. We'll see what else he goes for. But, yeah, I mean, Crushing Hammer is definitely what he needs to get back. He realizes this. He realizes that. Alright, this is scary when it builds up. But, Mr. Lucas's deck can only attach 1 energy per turn. So, eventually we may see his deck kind of fizzle out. He's going to go for an N here, it looks like. He really wants a catcher this turn, that's for sure. If he can get a catcher, he can target down. You would probably go for the Darkrai with the 30 damage and the Dark Claw. You knock that out. You leave the other one there with the 120 damage on it already. That seems like the best way to go in this situation. If he doesn't get a catcher, whatever, you're just fine using Land's Judgment. Taking down that Sableye, take your prize. Because at some point you're probably going to expect another Sableye to come down anyway. There's no way with Joe's current state he's going to be able to deal with that fully powered Landorus when he's only got 1 Darkrai with any energy on it in play. It's got 120 damage on it already. So taking the prize here is a pretty big deal. If he can manage to do that, you should just, well, he's going to be able to do that obviously. But if he doesn't have the catcher, that is a fine substitute for not doing that. Oh, he goes for the catcher. He's trying to figure out which Darkrai to go after. And like I said, I would go for the one with 30 in the Dark Claw, because that's the more difficult one to knock out. That's the one you need 3 energy to get rid of. Plus, you get rid of the Dark Claw, which could end up being a big deal. But, alright, he does change his mind. He goes for the one without the energy on it. I like this play a lot better. I think Mr. Lucas has come to the same realization. He's saying, you know what? That one's tougher to knock out. That one with 120 damage on there, that's going to be there for me to take. Unless there's like a max potion or something. And if that's the case, then he has to discard his energy anyway. So I would rather just take out the one with no energy, force my opponent to have more stuff, and then eventually I should be able to just hammerhead that for a knockout, since it has 120 on it already. So we see another hammer and another tails for Joe. He is 0 for 3 so far on these crushing hammers. Uh-oh. And so far, it looks like Mr. Lucas's run is going to continue here. He is just steamrolling Joe in this first game so far. Now, of course, with those crushing hammers, that could turn around at any moment. We could just see one turn where he flips 2 heads on crushing hammers, discards the energy off Mr. Lucas's Landorus, and he could just kind of fizzle out. And that is where the strength of these crushing hammers comes through. Now, the other thing is he does play Hypnotoxic Laser, so you can kind of do something with Sableye where you sit there and you're like hammering and then you just laser once. You kind of really put a ton of damage on the Landorus if it sits there, because you take advantage of the heavy retreat costs of all of Richard's Pokemon. If you poison it with Hypnotoxic Laser, you don't even need to put it to sleep, you just poison it. What does he do? I mean, he's going to have to switch to get out of it, right? And then if he does that, what does he switch into? The Landorus with no energy on it? And that's where you're like, oh, okay. If he switches into the Landers with no energy, that's not really that threatening. So it buys you time at the very least. The hypnotoxic laser is going to be huge here. He does have it. Yeah, Mr. Lucas already puts it to sleep. He can predict the future, apparently. Remember when he called out his top deck for the catcher in that top 4 match? He knew it was coming, so is Mr. Lucas... I mean, is he able to see into the future? I don't know. All right, so here we have a random receiver from Joe. He gets an N. We've seen him play all sorts of stuff this turn. You can see he's kind of got an interesting take on the Darkrai deck. We've seen a bicycle. We see hammers, lasers, all sorts of stuff. And, you know, even though he's down 2 prizes here, all of a sudden with that hypnotoxic laser, puts that Landorus to sleep and poisons it. He could be in a good spot. He could easily come back here. That's just the power of laser. And Crushing Hammer, like I said, can change any game in an instant. And there we go. Oh, die goes off the table. Got a reflip. And we got a heads. So, Mr. Lucas does wake up. And, oh, top deck's the catcher. Here we go. If he has a laser, oh man, he could just wipe out another Darkrai. Go up 4 prizes. And then Joe's only got that Darkrai with 120 left. Oh, man. Even if he doesn't get the laser, he can just burn all of his energy with Land's Judgment and take the knockout there. I mean, why not? He's going to Ultra Ball. See what he's got in there. What will he take? Now, he plays Bouffalant and Tornadus EX. He also plays, well, a bunch of Landorus, apparently. And I don't know what he's going to take. Takes a 3rd Landorus, so he's just saying, you know, this guy's pretty good against Darkrai. I think he can go the distance in this game. And it looks like it will. I mean, look at just the board. This active Darkrai is getting knocked out. We do see a Skyla here from Mr. Lucas. I'm not sure what he's going to take with this. He could take a Juniper. Honestly, we know he plays that Scramble Switch. If he wants to, he can Scramble Switch into the other Landorus, taking away that poison, and also moving 3 energy to it. And that could honestly be the end of the game. But it looks like he's going to go for a Juniper instead. I wonder if the Scramble Switch is in there or not. I think you might just take it there. And even if you don't have a supporter, you might just do that there. Just move all your energy to a fresh Landorus, and you pretty much lock up the game, knowing that, you know, you can just knock out another Darkrai and win. But there is stuff like Crushing Hammer to worry about, Laser, so I don't know. It's a tough call. We do see Land's Judgment. He blows up the Darkrai. I mean, shatters it into pieces for 300 damage. It is weak to fighting. And if you're Joe, what do you do here? You are down 4 prizes. The good news, though, you have, well, you haven't really done anything, but Mr. Lucas has now discarded all of his energy. So now there's none in play, and he's down to 2 prizes. So something like an N here will be huge. You can put him down to 2 cards. You saw him Skyla for that Juniper, so you know he has a supporter. If you have an N, you definitely have to play it here. And you can maybe start a comeback. You know, that that Landorus active has 60 on it. If you Night Spirit, it does get knocked out. And then maybe Mr. Lucas just doesn't draw an energy. I don't know. That's got to be your hope at this point. Otherwise, you can go for a Max Potion if you play one. There's a computer search here. He definitely needs to get Max Potion right now, and he has one. So here we go. Max Potion is a huge card we've been seeing a lot more of as Laser has risen into popularity. Because, you know, a lot of things are just 2-hit knockouts. And removing all your damage from play is huge when a Pokemon has 180 hit points. And there we go. That is a game changer, folks. We have a Max Potion. Well, he's playing a Laser here. I don't know if I like this. He's putting it to sleep. And here we go. Here's an N. That Landorus is already poisoned, so I don't know if it was worth the Laser there. I'm not too sure. Maybe you want to save them, but you can always junk hunt for it, I guess. Depends on how many he has left. But, yeah, this all of a sudden can be kind of scary for Richard if he does not pull anything off his N. You know, he's just going to basically need to attach energy the rest of the game. If he can do that, I think he will end up winning. You know, just hammerheading for 63 times he'll end up winning. If he can't do that, if he misses an energy drop here or there, I don't know. Joe could come back. That's certainly a possibility, especially with those crushing hammers. He could just discard all the energy and make a gigantic comeback where Mr. Lucas kind of stormed him out the gates and took a 4-prize lead. But discarding all the energy with Land's Judgment, that was huge. That was kind of the difference between having a laser there and not having it. If you did have the hypnotoxic laser and you didn't have to discard all your energy, then you would force Joe to have to Night Spear you this turn. Otherwise, he loses. And I don't know. We'll see. We do have the scramble switch, so that's kind of just working as a regular switch at this point. Kind of a bummer, but hey, he'll take it. He's going to energy retrieval for 2 fighting energy, so Joe could be in some major trouble. We're going to have an energy attachment every single turn out of Mr. Lucas, and there's no way to prevent that. The crushing hammers, they don't do that great of a job, and another bump into the camera. What's wrong with you guys, man? There's a tripod there. Just don't bump into it. You have one job. Just don't bump into the tripod. But thank you, Mr. Lucas, for fixing the camera. I appreciate that. Everything's back to normal. He actually put it in a better angle, actually. All right. I can't say enough about Mr. Lucas. He is just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He has been a big figure in the community for a very long time. One of my favorite people to see at tournaments. Class act through and through. And helping us out here once again. So we do have that hypnotoxic laser from Joe. He's going to poison that Landorus EX, and he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. He's doing some math, trying to figure out where do I go with this Night Spear. Do I want a Night Spear? Do I want to just junk hunt this turn? I can do that instead. I'm also questioning why Mr. Lucas hit a Sableye for 30 with that last Hammerhead. He could have done Darkrai instead. Hit it for 30. That way it's only 2 Hammerheads and a laser, and he ends up winning. So that's a big, big difference. We do see that Night Spirit will be for 110 plus 30 for laser, hitting the Landorus up to 140. And he's going to hit the other one for 30. Ouch. All of a sudden, things are looking very, very scary for Mr. Lucas, who, he went out to that huge start, but you can see how these cards like Laser are really impacting the matchup. And N for sure. He does have 2 fighting in his hand. Where does he want to put them? I think if you're him, you want to attach to the Landorus with no energy on it, or no damage on it. Yeah, no damage and no energy. Attached to that plain one, that's probably your best shot here at winning. I don't know what else to do here. Looks like he drew a Tornadus EX, not a card he wants to see here. Looks like he decided not to attach at all. I don't mind that, I guess, because you're not really going to be able to build up a 3 energy Landorus at this point, so why risk your energy just being discarded by Crushing Hammer? I actually like that, not playing the energy there. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of sense, actually. And now Joe, he's on the comeback trail. If he can draw a catcher this turn and catcher up that Landorus with 120 on it, and then he can just knock out the other Landorus, that is something he can do here. His other option would be to catcher the Landorus with no damage, and then basically he just wants a catcher, because there is, 170 damage on the active Landorus EX, so you want to be able to hit the bench one with Night Spear for the knockout, and then hit another one for a full 110 damage. So I'm not sure if it's better to wipe out the Landorus with 120 on it, or hit the other non-damaged one and just kind of have a ton of damaged Landorus on the field. I'm not sure which one is better, actually. I might favor just taking the prizes here, and that way you're just stuck with one Pokemon in play. It makes your laser a lot stronger when he doesn't have any options to switch into. And it looks like Joe decides to retreat to his Sableye instead. I don't know. This is Kind of a strange play. I mean, I actually don't mind it. He's going to junk cut for a max potion, I think, and then something else, maybe a laser. This is a very conservative move. He is really afraid of somehow being knocked out. Maybe if Mr. Lucas can get a hammerhead and then next turn catch her up Joe's Darkrai, get a hammerhead, I don't know. So Joe's actually going to play it safe. The Landers will get knocked out from poison damage, and um, I, I can't tell if I like it or not. Either way, that's what he's going with. And we do see a max potion. Mr. Lucas tosses that damage to the side. We have a Bianca. This is a huge turn if he can draw a fighting energy. Does he draw one? And no fighting. And that was actually a huge turn. I think the reason I have trouble figuring out whether or not this was a good play by Joe is if he does get hammerheaded for a knockout, it would do knock out the Sableye, 30 to the Darkrai, and then Mr. Lucas just needs a laser to win. The max potion doesn't really get you anywhere. I understand that, you could max potion off your Sableye, but I don't think it really got you anywhere, and you might have been better off just getting more damage onto the field. I'm not too sure, or just taking those 2 extra prizes. But either way, it's going to work out for him. Mr. Lucas does go down to 1 prize, though. So this is not over yet. Not by a long shot. Joe still has to take 4 more prizes. He's got to knock out 2 fresh Landers EXs. Can he pull this off? He's going to put down that Keldeo EX just to give himself a safeguard from Hypnotoxic Laser. The poison damage could add up pretty quickly. Can Joe pull this off? There is an option for him to attack with that Keldeo at some point too. With energy switches, he could swing in for a Secret Sword for 100 since Landers is weak to water. So that's actually going to come into play as an attacker perhaps. But will Mr. Lucas get energy? He whiffed big time the last turn. I really think if he got an energy that turn, he would have ended up winning this game. He may just be 1 turn short now, as he does go to sleep on that Hypnotoxic Laser as well. I just don't know. This game got a lot closer than I thought it would. He started up 4 prizes, and now Joe is roaring back here. I don't know if it'll be enough for him to win, but he has certainly given himself a shot to win, and that's the important thing here. And we'll see. This is a big flip here, whether or not he is going to wake up. We do see a Night Spear for 110 plus 30, so he'll do 140. And 30 to the benched Landers EX. First of all, will Mr. Lucas wake up? That's a big thing. He's going to draw his 1 now from N. That's even bigger than I thought. And stays asleep. Laser time. Oh no. Stays asleep, so even if he got a fighting, he wouldn't be able to attack here. And now, is Joe going to come back here? It looks like he can. If he has to catch her next turn, he can catch her up that Landers EX on the bench. Because this active one is going to go up to 170 damage. Mr. Lucas is going to put down the Bouffalon and pass. He's got nothing working for him. And you got to question, earlier he didn't put down an energy on his Landers EX when he played that energy retrieval. And Joe actually random receivers and doesn't have any supporters left. So these guys are running on fumes now. I don't know if they'll have the stuff to finish the game out. Joe does have a Juniper, though. I don't know. But yeah, you have to wonder, would that energy attachment have made all the difference if he had played it down before the end? He didn't play it in fear of crushing hammer. Maybe he would have been better off doing so in case of that N. We do see a Juniper here. Joe realizes the importance of going for that catcher here. Mr. Lucas is going to shuffle the deck before Joe draws. He did look through it with random receiver. Mr. Lucas is going to count the deck as well. I believe there are 9 cards left, which is actually kind of perfect. And here we go. Does he get a catcher? Or there's at least 1 left. Looks like there's 10 cards. So, yes, he's going to get that Pokemon catcher, bring up the Landers EX, hit it for 110, and then knock out the benched Landers EX with that 30 from Night Spear, putting pressure on Richard. Does he draw? He's going to need a max potion and a fighting to have a shot at this game. Otherwise, Joe is going to pull off a huge comeback here with the power of Hypnotoxic Laser. That is for sure. Oh man, it all comes down to this. We have that Darkrai, or that Landers EX. What does Mr. Lucas draw here? He hasn't, I don't think he's discarded that bench Landers EX yet, but that's okay. We all know it's knocked out. Does he have anything? And no, he extends his hand. And Joe Baka will take down this first game. What an incredible comeback from him. And if you're Mr. Lucas, you're probably thinking, wow, I thought I had that game. How did that one slip away? And it seemed, I don't even know. It just seemed like he was in such firm control. He had that early Landers EX. He had it. And then that one turn where he had to discard all of his energy, he went down to 2 prizes. Joe slammed down the big N, disrupted his hand, started getting some lasers. Mr. Lucas missed that big energy attachment, and all of a sudden, just a slow comeback. And this is why this Darkrai laser deck is so powerful, and why we've been seeing it win so much at state championships. But you can also see why the big basic deck from Richard has been doing so well as well. You can just see how strong that was. If he didn't get End out of the game, he certainly was at the advantage the whole time. You just saw how powerful that deck was early on, and he was just kind of like 1 or 2 cards from kind of closing it out. But that was just game number 1. We got best 2 out of 3 series here. It's 60 minutes. That game didn't take very long. That's kind of the benefit of these big EXs and the laser. It speeds the game up. And here we go for game number 2. These guys shuffled pretty quickly, and they're ready to go. Who's going to come out on top here in the finals of the Wisconsin State Championship? So right off the bat, we see a laser and a Verbank and an N. This is huge. This is what every player hopes for with this big basic deck. You try to get a turn 1 double colorless on Tornadus, a Verbank, and a laser. And you can essentially hit for 90 damage turn 1. And that's going to devastate every deck. No deck can really stand up to that. Unless they start with like a Sigilift, but let's not get into technicalities here. So if he gets that DCE this turn, that's going to be huge. Does he get it? And looks like no, just a fighting. And Joe can breathe in a sigh of relief. But he will take 30 from the poison and the Verbank City Gym, which is still a pretty big deal, actually. Unless he has a max potion to heal off that 30, that's just kind of like your Sableye is guaranteed to be knocked out by an item card. And just let that sink in. Your 70 hit point Pokemon survives 1 turn from an item card. That is just laser in a nutshell. But we're going to see Joe energy search here. Gets to search for a basic dark energy. I think he just plays all darkness, no fire techs or anything like that. He's got the hammers to deal with those Kling Clang decks. We saw a lot of players, myself included, gravitate towards, like a Fire Victini to handle Kling Clang. But Joe decided to go with lasers and hammers instead. And he does play his own Hypnotoxic Laser there. He's going to poison that Tornadus EX. Put some pressure on Richard to switch out of that poison at some point. He does play, I believe, 4 switch and a scramble switch. So he will be able to do that. It's just pretty annoying. At 30 passive damage for the cost of an item card. We could see this whole series. Well, that first game. Even in this second game already. We are seeing just how much Hypnotoxic Laser has affected the game. You're seeing how much that little damage from that little laser gun has changed the whole dynamic of the Pokemon trading card game. Just how aggressive you can be with one little card like that. And we do see a Crushing Hammer and another Tails. I don't think Joe's flipped a single heads on that yet. If he does, If he starts flipping heads on those things, this might change completely. And now we see another laser. I guess he really is fearing that Tornadus EX. I'm not too sure why, because he's going to get knocked out by poison regardless. He puts it to sleep. I guess he might want to prevent that Tornadus EX from retreating. It seems like maybe a waste, but I guess when you can just junk hunt for something, it's not that big of a waste. And now we'll see, does Mr. Lucas wake up? And he does. So we'll see where he goes from here. If he is able to pull off like a Landorus EX Hammerhead this turn, I think he should do that. Try to get one of those in play. Really start putting some pressure onto Joe with that Landorus EX. He really needs to get that into play. He needs to build up that 3 energy for the Land's Judgment. That is really what defines this matchup. Besides Hypnotoxic Laser, Landorus EX, if it can get to 3 energy and start using Land's Judgment, that's a pretty big deal. Now we do see an Ultra Ball discarding a switch. That is a questionable move, I gotta say. You really wouldn't like to leave that Tornadus active because, I mean, man, that poison adds up quickly. Just see Joe's poor Sableye is gonna get knocked out. But guess 1.5 turns from the poison damage and Verbank. That's 90 that adds up just sitting there. And, he plays another switch here. So those are 2 switches gone. I don't really like discarding a switch there when you know Joe has a laser in his hand. I mean, you know. He played a junk hunt for it. Or he used junk hunt for it. So you know there is a Hypnotoxic Laser in his hand. And you just burned 2 switches, and I don't think you really needed to burn either one of those. He could have just retreated his Tornadus. He could have discarded a double colorless instead of a switch, but he decided to discard 2 switches here, and this might end up burning him. You know, little things like this make all the difference in Pokemon nowadays. Well, not nowadays. Little things like this have always made the difference in Pokemon, and have really separated players from, winning and losing. And we might see that here. That poison staying on that Landorus EX could be the difference between a win and a loss. And especially now that he's put to sleep as well. So you gotta wonder, will discarding those switches end up being, the demise of Mr. Lucas here? It doesn't seem like much. It's just a laser. It's just a stupid little laser gun. But, yeah, that's how quickly the damage adds up. And if you stay active for 1 turn with an EX, instead of needing 2 Night Spears to knock out an EX now, if the Pokemon stays active and doesn't get rid of the poison, and now just takes 1 Night Spear, 90 damage, to get a 2 prize knockout. And that's just why Darkrai is doing so well now. It can take advantage of Laser better than any other deck, I believe. The big basic deck definitely uses it well, but I feel like Darkrai is the one that really uses it to its fullest potential between Junk Hunt and the bench damage from Night Spear. The math just seems to work out pretty perfectly. But now we do see an Ultra Ball. He puts down the Keldeo EX before he played his supporter, and then goes ahead with another Sableye here. He may want to try to Junk Hunt here. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He's going to attach to the Keldeo EX. He might leave the Darkrai active. I don't know. This is a strange position. And he's actually going to have to pass. He can't do anything this turn. But he did the big thing, which was poison and sleep. That's the big one. So Richard does stay asleep here. And we have a catcher and a laser on the Keldeo EX. He's going to try to do the same thing, but he will fail with his flips. That's, honestly, that can kind of be what the game comes down to nowadays. These laser sleep flips, we can see already. Being able to get Hammerhead off there and having to pass, that's a difference. And, we see an enhanced hammer. Mr. Lucas is kind of confused. He thought it was a Pokemon catcher. Nope, that's an enhanced hammer. That's going to instantly discard that double colorless energy. You can discard a special energy with that enhanced hammer. No flip involved. It's not like crushing hammer where it's a flip. Nope, you just discard that special energy. We haven't seen that be played too often anymore now that lasers have come into play. But enhanced hammer definitely is huge against these big basic decks that can only discard one energy or that can only attach one energy every turn. If you can discard just one, that can definitely impact the game. Now, where will Joe go from here? Well, looks like he's going right to Darkrai. He gets the free retreat on his Keldeo from Darkrai's Dark Cloak, and he can Night Spear for 90, and he's going to be able to knock out that Landorus EX, man. Thanks to Poison, and like I said before, discarding those switches, that was pretty much what made this possible. When Mr. Lucas discarded 2 switches on that fateful turn, that's why we're here. That's why that Landorus just got knocked out. And, man, I wonder if he can come back from this. This seems pretty bad, but, oh, top decks the Bianca. That's a fresh 6. And puts the DCE on the Tornadus as well. I don't know, maybe things are turning around for Mr. Lucas. We could start to see a big comeback here. That Landorus EX comes down. We do have 3 energy on the Tornadus EX, so he can Power Blast for 100 here. Maybe setting up a play with a Hammerhead and a Laser. That could be a knockout next turn, that's for sure. And here we go. Power Blast. It's going to do 100 damage. Flips heads, so he does not have to discard an energy. And now Joe's going to be under a little pressure. If he doesn't have a Hypnotoxic Laser or a Dark Claw, he will not be able to knock out this Tornadus EX. But I think he top-decked a Laser. So things are going well for Joe at this point, that is for sure. And you got to think he's going to be in pretty firm control after this Hypnotoxic Laser. That's going to be able to do the finishing, I believe, 20 damage he needs to knock out the Tornadus EX. He's going to play a random receiver. Let's see what he gets. Nope. And Juniper. So that's probably the strongest supporter he could draw here. One of the very nice things about the Darkrai deck is that it runs through the deck very quickly. So near the end of the game, when it comes down to N and stuff like that, you are able to thin out cards so that you don't have to draw them. You know, a common strategy we see from players is discarding excess cards that you don't want to draw anymore. You know, like discarding the extra Ultra Balls, the extra Ends, anything that you just don't want to draw at the end of the game. And Darkrai is very good at that. And now we do see the Laser, the Night Spear, the Knockout. Joe is down to 2 prizes. He's 1 big EX knockout away from winning this tournament. But we do see a Max Potion from Mr. Lucas. We have an N. So maybe things can turn around here. Card number 1 he's going to need is a Laser. If he can hit that Laser here, he can knock out this Darkrai. And maybe just Joe doesn't have an energy to attack. He's only going to draw 2 cards off this N. Oh, are we going to see another miracle from Mr. Lucas here? He chooses not to cut Joe's deck, and just like that, look, that Ultra Ball. That is the ugliest card to draw off of an N. That Ultra Ball, it is worthless, because you have to discard 2 cards to even use it. And you just get to search for a Pokemon. And does Mr. Lucas get the Laser here? He needs it to get the knockout here, otherwise he gets Night Speared. Doesn't look like he got it. Oh, man. If he would have, think of what would have happened there. That would have been huge. We do get the hit for 60, and then 30 more to that benched Darkrai EX. And what does Joe do now? His hand is pretty bad. It's a Catcher, a Dark Claw, and an Ultra Ball. I believe those are the 3 cards there. Nothing to work with, no energy, and you can see if Mr. Lucas had drawn an energy, or if he had drawn the Laser off of his end to 5, he would have been able to knock out this Darkrai and left Joe with no option to attack. That 1 Hypnotoxic Laser is the difference here. That could be, I mean, the difference between the win and the loss. Just that 1 knockout there. Who knows? Now, this game is definitely not over. And look at Mr. Lucas. He's just casually pulling out a pack of gum in the middle of the match. You know, just the finals, no big deal. Probably like the biggest turn of the game. Offers his opponent a piece of gum. And this is just the kind of guy he is. He's seriously one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And this is just funny to see. Puts the gum wrapper in his discard pile, too. So he's even taking out the trash there. And all right, we do see a Night Spear. That's going to do 90 to the active, 30 to the Tornadus EX. And oh, another max potion. Takes the gum wrapper out. And oh, he's going to play a laser here. I don't know if I like wasting that there. I guess if you have a couple left, it's not the worst thing. And he's just kind of giving himself an insurance policy in case he doesn't get a fighting. But I think you might have to take the risk at this point. Just go ahead and save the laser for that other Darkrai back there. But that max potion was huge. That is going to probably save him the game. I mean, if he could just draw energy and a laser from here on out, I think he actually wins. I think he can pull this off. Does he get the energy, though? Uh-oh. Geez, if he doesn't get the energy, that's terrible. Sure, this Darkrai gets knocked out by poison, but Joe drew an energy off this end. He can promote the Darkrai in Night Spear for 90, and uh-oh. That's twice now. Mr. Lucas has whiffed on a huge card off an end to 5. And you got to think, if he got the laser the previous turn, if he got the energy this turn, he probably would have been in a good position to win. Now Joe has the Night Spear for 90. Mr. Lucas has already played 2 max potions up to this point. What can he do now? I don't know. If he doesn't have another max potion, that would be at number 3. He would need something like a Hypnotoxic Laser to put that Darkrai to sleep. Otherwise, he's done for. Joe has a catcher in his hand. If Mr. Lucas doesn't have an N here, and he doesn't, he's got a Juniper. Yeah, I don't know what he can do here. He's going to need a max potion. He plays an escape rope. That's going to force Joe to switch out a Pokemon first. I honestly don't think it matters which one he sends up, the Keldeo or the Sableye. It really doesn't make much of a difference at all. I might go for Keldeo, but Joe might opt to go for the Sableye in fear of a laser stalling him up there. And Mr. Luke is just going to catch that Darkrai right back out, saying, you know what? I got to go for this. Uh-oh, Hypnotoxic Laser. It's a heads. Oh, Mr. Lucas, he can pull this off still. And we got a Juniper. If he can get another max potion, he can heal off his bench Landorus. I think he'll end up winning this game. Does he get it, though? Does not look like it. And this is why missing that fighting the previous turn was the difference in this game. Missing the Hypnotoxic Laser the turn before is the difference. Just anything that would have taken one attack off his board, or even just put 30 extra damage on Joe's board, is a difference in him winning or losing. If there's 30 extra damage on this active Darkrai EX, he can Hammerhead for 60 plus 30 from the poison, and he wins. Pretty much. I mean, he wins. He has to take one more prize, but let's be honest, Joe has nothing left at that point. But now, oh man, this is going to come down to a sleep flip, I think. And if Joe wakes up, he can catch her, knock out the Landorus, he wins. If he stays asleep, he needs to draw an energy. He stays asleep. Mr. Lucas pumps his fist. Will his Cinderella story continue here? Uh-oh. And, oh, Joe top decks the Juniper. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. That might be the end for Mr. Lucas. He's doing everything he can. He is making these matches, honestly, more exciting than I've ever seen. Every match he's been involved in has been right down to the wire. Here is the catcher on that Landorus EX. Does Joe draw a Dark Energy? If he does, he can rush in, retreat, and win the tournament. If not, we will go to a game number 3 here. What's going to happen? Looks like he got it. And Joe Baka will win the Wisconsin State Championship 2-0 over Richard Lucas. But what an incredible series this was. 2 back-and-forth games. Incredibly played by both sides. And an exciting match to see, no doubt about it. Congratulations to Joe. That was a great job. He played the matchup beautifully. And, you know, for a newer player, he is definitely making himself heard in this scene. A lot of these new guys in the Chicago area are picking up big wins, and this is just another one. And Mr. Lucas, great performance as well. Put on a heck of a show. Second place is nothing to be ashamed of. And I'm just really happy to see a great quality match between these two guys. So thanks for watching, guys. That's going to wrap up our coverage from this tournament. But I am Pooka here from the Top Cut. We'll have some more videos soon, and I'll see you guys next time.